field of 68 on this January 1st, 2023. It is the first edition of After Dark in the new year. I'm John Fanta, and we've got a couple of guys who I still think can flat out hoop. Patric Young is with us.
My hook shot never expires. Both hands.
There we go.
Even from the chair.
Wingspan. That's a big one. Wingspan.
And Terrence Oglesby is with us. Guys, let's jump right in here on After Dark. Coming up on tonight's show, we've got Micah Shrewsberry, the head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions, who have won 5 in a row. Penn State. They've won 5 in a row. They beat Iowa tonight, 83-79. We will get to that. But we begin in the Big Ten. We begin in Ann Arbor, where Michigan is hosting Maryland today. Michigan is coming off of a loss to Central Michigan, of all teams. And you walk into this game and you sit here saying, okay, how are they going to respond? Maryland's only ever won at the Chrysler Center one time. Michigan raced out to a 19-0 lead in this game. The Wolverines win this game 81-46. Patric Young.
Yes, sir.
What in the heck happened in Ann Arbor? What's your takeaway?
Well, what happened is I just can remember back in my days, early on in my college career, we lost to Jacksonville University at home. And it was just one of those games. It was a noon game. You can't all the excuses you can think of. We didn't really want to play that early. It was like a Sunday. All these things, and like we're a really good team, but have not played up to our level. Allow somebody to come in to our place and beat us on our home court. And man, the practices, the mindset, everything that Coach Donovan brought to us to reframe our mindset, to challenge us. This was nothing but Michigan responding to Juwan Howard, whatever he had to do, because they have obviously not been playing to the level that we expected in the preseason. Hunter Dickinson, even though he's averaging 18 points a game this year, he looked like, no one can match up with him in this game anyway, but he looked like a man on a mission as someone that's like, hey, I'm the preseason All-American. We are a much better team that, we've shown so far. We want to win this league and prove to the country that we can, because I think they believe that they're better than being unranked right now. But that was a showing. 13 points for Maryland in the first. And you feel terrible for Coach Willard, because they started out obviously in a blaze, 8-0. Really looked well, especially on the defensive side, but they had no answer tonight.
They weren't doubling Hunter Dickinson either. And I think games where Hunter Dickinson has played really well, Michigan's been pretty good, and they've been a handful. It's just he hasn't been the consistent guy that we've been accustomed to seeing over the past few years, right? And there's some guys around him that need to step it up. Like Jett Howard started out great, and then people are starting to figure him out a little bit. But Hunter Dickinson, when he shows up and he really feels like getting out there and playing, he had 32 and 12 tonight.
And he can shoot the 3-ball too.
Yeah, and he's tough. He's tough. But the thing is, if he's not scoring when people aren't doubling,
exactly,
that's hard. And then when people are doubling, that's when some of those other guys need to be able to make shots.
Absolutely.
And what's happened is when he's not playing well, like he is the key to everything they do. They're young around the perimeter. Their scorers around the perimeter are really young. Kobe Buffkin's been playing well ever since Llewellyn got hurt. But like for the most part, this team goes as Hunter Dickinson goes, and he's got a lot on his plate, not just on the basketball floor. If he focuses in, Michigan can compete. If he doesn't, like you saw against Armando Bacot and some of those guys, like Michigan really struggles.
What do you attest to the Jett Howard when you say, explain to the fans when you mean he's been figured out? Why is he not able to light it up as he did early on?
Well, he's still averaging 15. But for example, like you put somebody lengthy on him, you don't let him get in closeout situations. Like he's still got some wiggle to his game, but he's best whenever guys are hitting him on a closeout and people are flying at him, right? Like if he's able to do that and then either knock down shots or attack closeouts, it's a lot different.
Got to knock down shots.
Yeah, he can knock down shots. And that comes back to, can Hunter Dickinson create double teams? Because they don't necessarily have a guy who's getting into the lane at will.
Here's my question, T.O. It's January the 1st. All right.
Right.
And Michigan, through all the ups and downs of last season, which included a brawl and a melee that rocked the college basketball world. Remember, everybody thought that Michigan's season was over after that game against Wisconsin, that they wouldn't be able to recover. They made the Sweet 16. Where does Michigan fall in the Big Ten pecking order for you? And how much stock do you still have in them in terms of what they could do in March?
It all depends. It's all up to him, right? Like, they're still right in the middle of the conference, in my opinion. I don't think they're at the level of a Purdue and Ohio State or Wisconsin. I think those are the clear-cut top three. They are in that second tier, along with Penn State, along with Rutgers, along with Illinois at this point, who has been fine, 0-2 in conference, but they've been fine throughout pre-conference.
And Indiana?
Yeah, Indiana too. Sorry. That middle of the Big Ten it's really congested. And I watched the show with Goodman and Hummel the other day. They had a hard time differentiating between the bunch. Like, that second tier, the middle part of the Big Ten, like, it's just a hodgepodge of different styles and different dudes and different teams. And I feel like Michigan's at the bottom part of that second tier at this point. Now, Hunter Dickinson plays well. Guys are knocking down shot. That flips everything on its head. They can compete with anybody in the league. That being said, Hunter Dickinson, while he is averaging good numbers, there's been games where everybody's wondering where he went.
See, Patrick, where do you fall on this? Because the thought process in mind is, like, at some point when teams are doubling Hunter Dickinson, they are going to need Kobe Buffkin and Doug McDaniel to make plays. They've got to be able to make something happen. Does Michigan have enough to, one, do you think that they'll end up making the NCAA tournament? Because when the day began today, they wouldn't have been in. They would not have been in the tournament, guys. You think they'll make the tournament? And do you think that Dickinson's talent level can end up trumping everything, and this team could still be the type of team that makes noise in March?
Well, it's going to be crucial for Michigan, since there's not going to be so many opportunities for quad one wins unless you're on the road at Purdue, Wisconsin, Ohio State. Penn State might fall into that category. You're going to have to steal some big time wins here to solidify and make it without a doubt. I think when you have a guy, I didn't get double teamed too often, but your point of double teaming a big guy is, if he's dominant, is either he's dominant and you want him to get the ball out of his hands, or he's a terrible passer out of the double team and you want to just force some turnovers. And Hunter Dickinson, with his size, which I look to the same sometimes at Zach Edey, you just shoot right over. You just hold the ball high enough that you don't even, the double team doesn't even phase you. So if he can just have that, and he showed that a little bit. Obviously, Maryland doesn't have anyone that's matches up to his size, his stature.
They didn't even throw James. They didn't even throw Reese a life vest or anything. Like,
no, and I don't understand.
Nothing. They're like, "Hey, dude, you got him. Good luck." Good luck. He's got you by 4 inches and 60 pounds. Good luck. Guard him.
There were a few times that he someone maybe came to help late, but it's almost as if that person's not there. So he's going to need to be the guy that sometimes can just go through and not allow a double team to phase him. But also, yes, he's going to need help to create that disadvantage somewhere. If somebody comes in on his dribble, he swings it out, and it opens up the opportunities to paint touch for the outside game to open up. And those are usually better shots. So when it touches the paint and gets back out, the percentage drastically increases for those types of shots.
And he's motivated every time he plays Maryland too, because Maryland didn't recruit him.
Right.
That's a big thing as well. Like, he showed up, they start out 18-1 or something. And he's talking trash. We need that Hunter Dickinson every game. Find a way to rev yourself up like that every game. And it doesn't have to be 30-12 or whatever.
No.
Like 20 and like we're asking a lot, but he has shown us that he's capable of doing 20-10, 20-8, 18-12. Things like, he has to be along those lines for Michigan to be there. And they can be there. The pieces around him are fine as long as he's that main guy. That's the problem. If he's been the main guy, like Armando Bacot, who's shorter, doesn't weigh as much, he handed him his ass on a plate. Like, that's just what happened. Like, if
that's
he's
what it is, bro.
Yeah, he did.
You gotta call like you see it.
Yeah, and if he's there every night, Michigan's a contender. If he's not, he's been inconsistent. It's going to be hard.
But to me, guys, Maryland went about the game plan the wrong way. They went about the game plan the wrong way. And look, it's easy to say.
I think when they woke up, they went about the game plan the wrong way because who was there?
Yep.
Nobody. I mean, they I don't know where they went out in Ann Arbor, but it seems like they did because, my goodness, you want to talk about a hangover. I mean, you go down 17-0. 17-0. I mean, did Michigan football die so Michigan basketball could live? Yeah. I'm not sure.
It was rebirth.
But man, did it seem like it today. I mean, and Maryland, like, it's interesting because they got off to such a strong start to the year. And they've got balance, and I think that they're still going to figure things out. But you get off to a strong start to the year. Nobody in the Big Ten is looking at that, and that's not striking fear into those guys. And you could just tell because they have gotten a rude wake-up call, T.O., in Big Ten play thus far, now with their fourth loss today.
Yeah, and a lot of it, Donta Scott played 18 minutes and goes 2 for 10.
You can't have it.
That's supposed to be their workhorse. Like Jameer Young transfer from Charlotte, DMV area kid, like 2 for 9. Like, you got to have good performances out of your best players, especially on the road in whatever Power 6 conference. Your best players have to at least show up to give you guys a chance. And he tried a lot of different things, guys. He played a lot of guys a lot of minutes. I mean, what did he end up? He ended up playing 11 guys double-figure minutes. One guy played 9. So there you go. Like, he tried. And it's just sometimes it's hard to get guys out of the mud. And I will say this about Coach Willard and this Maryland team, like, they leave no doubt. Like, they will either beat
Not
you
always.
or they will get smacked by 40. Like, it's one or the other. like they're not big on suspense there in College Park this season.
Well, not always. But, it goes back to that defeat or the victory that they had after Illinois, beating Illinois at home. And, I was pretty excited about Maryland at that point, thinking, okay, that was a pretty big time win after Illinois came out. Who they just beat Texas a few games before that. Struggle to score. Just scoring seems like it is just the hardest thing. And they're getting, they're not getting terrible looks. No. Jameer Young, he can score the ball. He had 5 points today, but against Wisconsin, actually, I don't know who was giving me a hard time about Wisconsin a few weeks ago, but I'm like, man, they're no slouches.
Oh, you're doing a victory lap at 10:30.
Yeah, I'm like, hey,
right now at 10:30 p.m. Patric Young is going to tell everybody why they were wrong on Wisconsin. That is happening.
Am I part of those people? Am I part of those people? Is that me?
Yeah, maybe. You're one of them. You're one of them.
You may be one.
Okay.
You're one of them. We're going to give you a chance to come up with a counter argument with your decaf coffee.
Yeah.
What's the hate with decaf coffee? It's 10:15 at night.
There's still caffeine in it.
It's fake. It's not real.
There's still caffeine in there. Just
there's of course.
I have good energy right now. I don't need all the caffeine.
Why do you need it? I saw you were smiling.
I like to party.
When John brought us on, you were smiling. You were electric there. You just lit up.
I like the taste of coffee.
Go put some bourbon in there. We're going to take a 5-minute break on our end because we've got the head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions. Hey, he's a Brad Stevens guy. He's a Matt Painter guy. Spent time on the Purdue staff before taking over the job at Penn State. And in Happy Valley, they're happy right now. And it's not just for their Nittany Lions in the Rose Bowl. It's for their Nittany Lions basketball team, who's 11-3, has won 5 in a row, and moves to 2-1 in the Big Ten with a win over Iowa tonight. Here's our conversation with Penn State head coach Micah Shrewsberry. The Penn State Nittany Lions are 11-3 overall, 2-1 in the Big Ten after getting a win over Iowa 83-79 in Happy Valley tonight. And we are joined on Field of 68 After Dark by the head coach of the Nittany Lions in his second year, Micah Shrewsberry. And Micah, you beat Iowa in a battle in the Big Ten. What stands out to you the most about the way that your team got this win tonight?
I was impressed. Like, we were locked in defensively to start the game. I thought our guys came out with a lot of aggression on that end, really followed the game plan, what we were trying to do, how we tried to guard them. Second half, we weren't the same way, and credit to them. They were great. Chris Murray was fantastic in the second half, but so was some of the other guys, and they attacked us and got us back on our heels. But we started the right way, and I thought that was big for us.
Coach, Jalen Pickett has been All-American caliber for you this season. I mean, even tonight, 26, 7, and 6. What does he bring to your team that's so special? When you sit and watch him, that big, strong, physical body, he's like a point forward, point center guard. Like he's hard to explain in the college game.
Yeah, he uses his body really well. He's good at angles, like seeing how people are guarding him, spinning off, scoring, kind of gets where he wants to. And then, the luxury around him this year is we got a bunch of guys that can shoot it. So they space the floor really well, and give him those outlets, give him those options. But he's such a steady guy, right? You look out there, you always feel like, hey, things are going okay, right? We're not playing great down the stretch. We're turning it over, like our hair's on fire. And you look at him and he's just like, yeah, we're okay. All right. That's a good feeling as a coach when you have a guy like that.
To that point, Andrew Funk goes for 20 points. You hit 9 threes. You've got a top 35 KenPom offense. You talk about it's one thing to have guys that can shoot it. You certainly have them. But how much are you seeing high shot selections, positive shot selections that are leading to all these results?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. They're just taking good shots. They're taking rhythm shots. They're taking rhythm threes. Like, the leash is a little longer for an Andrew Funk, for a Seth Lundy, right? I allow them. They're such good shooters that you get some. Like Funk's going to come off of a screen and shoot it from, the nose of the Nittany Lion, because I feel like that shot's going in, right? If Seth Lundy catches it and the guy's not in his airspace, I'm telling him, shoot it. Shoot it every single time, because he's such a good shooter. But those guys, they take good shots, and that's helped us. Even when we haven't shot that great in games, I like the shots we're getting. And so I never talk to these guys about shot selection, because it doesn't really come up a whole lot, because they play mature offensively and they take really good shots.
Coach, you start Keba Jai. After that, and he doesn't play all that many minutes. He played 7 minutes tonight. You guys are rolling 6-6, 6-7 pretty much through the lineup. And Fanta and I were talking before you came on for this interview. You guys throw a certain yin to the Big Ten's yang. Like, there's not an aircraft carrier on your team. It's 5 guys that all can dribble, pass, and shoot. And is that your emphasis during your time there in Penn State, or getting guys that can do a little bit of everything?
I think versatility, right? We in Keba, like, I would love to play him more. Like, he got in the early foul trouble, and then the second half he picked up a couple quick ones. But we try and mix it up. Like, we'll throw Mikey Henn in there for a couple minutes, or throw Caleb Dorsey in there for a couple minutes. Then you got Miles Dredd will be at the 5, then Evan Mahaffey, and all those guys are so different, right? And like, we try and we don't have an aircraft carrier like everybody else, but we're going to force you to figure out how that aircraft carrier is going to try and guard us on the other end. And like, you can't just think about one guy. Like, Evan Mahaffey's bringing the ball up the court, right, and driving and passing. Like, Mikey Henn spotting up and shooting threes. Like, Keba setting screens, rolling to the rim. Like, all those guys are different. So, instead of focusing on one guy, now you got to prepare for like 3 or 4 or 5 of those guys, and they're all doing something different. So that we try to turn that to our strength. We don't us being small is a weakness, right? Well, let's flip it and make it our strength. And then, we got to battle on the boards. Like, that's what we talk about. Keep it close on the glass. And then, we're number 1. Hopefully we're still number 1 in the country in turnovers. We don't turn the basketball over. We're not going to give you extra possessions. We want to get shots, and our guys have done a good job of getting shots.
Well, we thank Micah Shrewsberry for his time. How about the Penn State Nittany Lions, fellas? You beat Iowa. You're 2-1 now in the conference. They're 11-3 on the season. Patric Young, what are you seeing in this Nittany Lions squad?
Well, that was my first time getting a chance to really see them start to finish. Wow. Jalen Pickett. Oh, my goodness. He is as my friend T.O. would say, he's a dude.
He's a dude.
He is a dude. I mean, there's no way he's a tough shot taker, tough shot maker, but shoots them with such confidence. I thought Andrew Funk was going to go for 40. Honestly, after the first half, how much he lit it up. But there was a trend in this game, as there was in the previous one we discussed. Northwestern had, or not Northwestern. In that game, Iowa outscored Penn State 53-39 in that second half, and I think Iowa figured out, hey, what's the formula for coming back into this game? Give Chris Murray the ball. He was sensational. Plays at a great pace a few times, and what really got them back into the game too, as well. And Chris led the team in this was offensive rebounds. Getting those second chance baskets, being able to just say, hey, I just coaches that get their teams to respond in the second half. You scratch your head a little bit, wondering, hey, why didn't we start out the game this way? But seeing that a team is capable of competing when it comes to games like this, because this team, they beat Iowa State handily a few weeks ago. Struggled here a little bit, but if this game starts over, I think we're looking at a completely different one.
T.O., could other Big Ten teams take notes from who Penn State is from an identity standpoint?
You know what I love? I love that you brought that up, because I refer to it whenever we were talking to Micah. They're a yin to the Big Ten's yang. Like, there's a lot of times, a big portion of these games where they're not playing anybody taller than 6'6", 6'7", and it's a bunch of guys switchable. They fly to the ball. You get in that paint, like there's three bodies on you. There's a couple of possessions today where towards the end of the game where Iowa tried to get in there and guys just flock to the ball. And they are so quick in recovery that they can send that many guys because they have that many versatile dudes defensively. And guys, here's where, they're playing twos against threes. If they can compete on the boards, and Coach Shrewsberry alluded to it, if they can compete on the boards, they're going to give themselves a chance because they're playing threes against twos. And whenever Andrew Funk's knocking down shots like that, like it's tough to guard. And
how many does he need to make a game? 4. Trying to make, if he makes 4 a game.
That's tough. And the thing is too, is like they just have guys that do winning stuff all the time. Miles Dredd was a plus 22.
Miles Dredd.
He was a plus 22 today whenever he was in the ball game.
I met the kid. I met him in Atlanta. He's an awesome guy. He is top tier, all class. Unbelievable. After my accident, he reached out to me and checked in on how I was doing. And it's like, I just met you a few weeks ago, kid. And he knocked down a 3 himself.
That's high level. That's a high level kid. And then they just have guys that do winning things, and it just permeates through their program. There's just so many guys that can do so many things, and it just makes it incredibly tough to guard. And not only can they compete, it's because those 6'6", 6'5", 6'6" guys are so big and strong that they can defend at least for an allotted period of time. That's the big thing. They can hold off just enough for that help to get there. And defensively is where I would worry, just because of the size in that league. But this is also a team, if they get in the tournament, they could win a few games, because they are a mid-majors nightmare, because mid-majors try to space you out and shoot it. Penn State spaces you out and shoot it, but they have bigger, burlier dudes. So, like, if they get in the tournament, they could cause some problems.
And doesn't that allow your ball screen coverage to be better?
Well, it allows you to switch things, and then you're out of rotations immediately. That's the big thing. Like, if you're guarding a ball screen, you switch that 1-2, like you can, or that 1-4, that 1-5. Like, there's no rotations to be had. And that's what really improves them. And I like what Shrewsberry said too about his lineup versatility with Keba Jai, and being able to have him roll, and then bringing in another 5 guy who can shoot it. Like, it's tough to guard. It's tough to prepare for. They are a menace when it comes to closing out defensively. And they have so many fast guys around the perimeter that could just swarm.
So they are at Michigan on Wednesday. Then they host Purdue on Sunday. I'll tell you what.
Big test.
But aren't you intrigued to see that offense and the spacing with Zach Edey on the other side?
Absolutely. And I'm intrigued to see how Shrewsberry attacks those guys, because I have a lot of respect for him, guys. Whenever I saw him, and when he came down to Clemson, it was just X and O, him against Brad Brownell going back and forth. Like, see him from that perspective to see how he's going to be able to attack those bigs and defend those bigs, quite frankly.
Defend the bigs, yeah.
Like, that's going to be an issue too. How's he going to be able to do that?
All right. We got producer Trevor Valise tonight. Trevor, don't you love when we throw a little curveball on the show?
Oh, it's my favorite part every night.
Love curveballs. I'm going to throw a curveball at everybody here because
Okay.
I just thought of Purdue. We got to ask the question. We got to ask the question here, and I want to get you guys involved in the YouTube chat, okay? When will Purdue take their first loss? We're going to play the schedule game. Tomorrow night, they're home to Rutgers. Does anybody have them losing that game? No. No. They're at Ohio State on Thursday.
Ooh.
Anybody want to do it?
Zed Key is
Zed Key.
Zed Key's 6'6".
He's 6'6". He's too short, but I like Bryce Sensabaugh, man. He can go.
Bruce Thornton's a bad boy too. I like those guys. I just Purdue, man, they're just moving so well at this point.
Okay, so the consensus is we're leaning still with Purdue. You're at Penn State next Sunday. I don't think any of us are in a class where we're taking the Nittany Lions.
At Penn State at home?
Yeah.
Penn State at home. Purdue's still number one. That place is going to be a madhouse. Penn State beats the Boilermakers.
There it is.
Right there?
At home, or semi-home. It's listed as semi-home, but it's at home.
There it is. You're taking Penn State next Sunday to hand Purdue their first loss.
I think they could. They very well could.
No, it's not could. It's not decaf coffee. You have to be.
It's not decaf
coffee. These are some wild accusations attacking my coffee. These are some wild accusations. Yeah. Penn State beats Purdue. Micah Shrewsberry, after working for Painter for 4 years, goes back and gets one.
Because if they don't, which is interesting, really interesting angle to the game. And the game.
It's at the Palestra.
It's at the Palestra. That's interesting. Now, the Palestra, here's what's interesting about it. The Palestra is a historic house of college hoops. So it would be fitting of the Palestra to have a game like that inside the building.
Yeah.
Now I'm starting to side with you on this.
All right. You know what? Bring it on over here, Fanta. Come on over to the decaf side.
Whiteout.
I'm going to be contrarian here, though. I think Ohio State pulls it off Thursday night in Columbus. I do. I think they storm the floor in Columbus.
Well,
I really like the Buckeyes in that particular spot, Patrick.
Well, let me switch and be host here for a second. What is the key that, since for you, Fanta, that what does Ohio State have to do to win? And then next to you, what does Penn State have to do to win? And obviously slowing down Zach Edey.
Well, it's a great question. Ohio State to beat Purdue. Okay, you have to do a couple of things. And Edey's going to get his. You can't allow Purdue to beat you from the three-point line. Bryce Sensabaugh supplies something to Ohio State's offense that they're not getting from any other source. That's why Chris Holtmann loves him. He loves the kid. The kid is wired to score, as evidenced tonight. Buckeyes blow away Northwestern. And Sensabaugh was great with 18 points, 7 of 14 from the floor, 8 rebounds. To me, Ohio State's offense, they're a top 5 KenPom adjusted offensive efficiency team. So I'm not worried about their ability to score the ball. Where I get a little bit worried is, it's a large task defensively when you are undersized because Edey garners so much attention. If I'm Ohio State, I say, you know what, I'm living to a degree with Zach Edey twos if it means I've got the perimeter locked down for threes. Right? Is that the case, T.O.? And
that's the same case with Penn State. That's the exact same argument I would make. You're playing 3s against 2, and you hope that you can compete on the glass. And keep in mind too, those freshmen from Purdue, they're going up against some stud freshmen from Ohio State. So you're going freshman. Are you going to be able to take advantage there? Because I think Ohio State's freshmen are more talented than Purdue's freshmen. If you can guard Zach Edey, and if you're just going to let him get his, that's a big difference. I didn't see at Nebraska game, but they held him in check. He played 43 minutes.
So I'm
curious to see what they did there. I have to go back and watch.
Let me ask this to Patric Young. Patric Young, if someone is going to beat the Purdue Boilermakers, what would be your formula?
Oh man, well. If it's going to be a home game for said opponent, first off, you have, I'm going to say the administration and social media, whoever covering the thing, do a great job of getting all the fans out there. Make this an electric environment because it does matter. And I'm so glad college basketball is back. Oh my gosh, just to see how every place is back. Michigan basketball, we get a chance to joke about that now that Michigan basketball is back. But first and foremost, fan base got to be there for support. When it comes to execution, and I'm just thinking about it because Edey is such a good rebounder just with his size, got to take good quality looks because oftentimes it's going to be one and done. If somehow you can get on the glass and get those extra possessions, finding a way to play without fouling, that's going to be a key. Getting good quality looks. I don't think playing a slow game is the answer because that does give Edey a chance to just load up the paint, get the ball and go. Try to outrun him. Try to put him in as many pick and rolls or motions where he cannot protect the basket as much because he may not block every shot, but how many shots does he affect? And that's the thing. And when it comes to the freshmen, on the flip side for Purdue's offense is striving your best to make somebody else beat you. Braden Smith is a dog. He's one of the toughest freshmen I've seen, just not afraid of anybody out there in the country. Purdue they're a very disciplined team, understanding that they're better together, that Edey is the head. But what it's going to take it's going to take a full 40-minute complete game and not allowing anything to be easy for Purdue.
I think that Penn State can beat Purdue for the same reason that St. Peter's beat Purdue in the tournament. And one of those reasons is whenever you set screens away from the ball, Zach Edey's not coming out to help those guys. Like, you're going to be able to generate shots if you have guys who can run away and shoot. And I feel like Penn State has that. And not only that, they also have pick and pop 5 men. So you're going to have to pick your poison there with Zach Edey too. Like, those rotations are going to have to be super good if you're going to play 5 small. Now, you are just hoping that you can go 3s against 2, which is basically what St. Peter's did. So I think that's the reason that Penn State can beat Purdue.
No, I like that a lot,
It's a fascinating discussion, and we turn now to this. Wisconsin is very arguably right now at 10:33 Eastern time on Sunday, January 1st, 2023, New Year's Day. Wisconsin could be argued as the biggest challenger to Purdue in the Big Ten, if there is such a thing. Patric Young, why were people
not mad at that at all?
Why were people wrong on Wisconsin?
Oh man, I'm not. I mean, this is first off, it's Big Ten basketball. It's chaos. It's a great league. One of the have to give credit. It's not the ACC.
There we go.
Well, wait a minute.
There we go. No, don't interrupt the man, John. Don't interrupt the man. Let him finish. Let him finish what he's saying.
For a second, I was going to say to him, "Don't be humble," and then he just took a 4x4. Yeah, a 4x4 and hit you over the head with it.
I had to slide that in there.
Thanks.
Well,
hey, we did win the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Let's keep that in mind here.
That's true. But hey, let's see when we're talking about the end of the season.
Let's talk about the end of the season. I'm fine with that. Let's do that. We can definitely do that. We will 100% do that, Patrick,
stop talking about that angle.
This is the new year. The most important. I hope you've learned. The most important day is today. We're taking a picture of what
most important day in a lot of people's minds, especially up in Carolina, is the last day of the season. They're throwing the towel in for right now. Just
right. I mean, the most important day is today is what Nancy woke up on her iPhone 10 this morning and looked at her daily message, and it was the most important day is today. Don't be giving me life quotes at 10:35. Tell me how the hell Wisconsin has surprised us and why T.O. was wrong on them.
I don't know.
Was I wrong on Wisconsin? What did I say about Wisconsin? I probably did. Not gonna lie, I probably did. But I think the reason we did sleep on Wisconsin in general was because Johnny Davis was so crucial to them last year. That was the big reason why. So now, sometimes when you lose, it's called the Ewing effect. Ironically, it's the Ewing effect. Like, Ewing goes out, and then the Knicks win 5 games in a row or something like that. They call it the Ewing effect. It was a study done. I think Bill Simmons was the catalyst there. Yes. But I digress. now those guys are all playing together and they're not relying on one guy. So the sum of his parts and all this, whatever the sayings are, that certainly qualifies. And they have guys in key positions. One, they defend. Two, they have Tyler Wall, who has been nothing short of really freaking good. And then they have a spurt guy off the bench, a spurt ability guy in Connor Esigian, who I think might have been one of the most overlooked freshmen in the country. Because whenever I saw him, I'm not sure how he's doing over the last 3 or 4 games, but whenever I saw him play in the battle for Atlantis, he was freaking terrific. He was a bigger version of Kyle Guy down there. Now, that being said, the top level talent at Wisconsin is still it's good. It's not great. It's good. Like, how far they can go is very much up for debate. But right now, they are playing as well together as anybody.
Well, they're shooting well they're shooting 38, 40% from the 3-point line, tied with Penn State. That's always going to help you stay in games. You knock down shots, knock down enough threes. I think they're top 3 in 3-pointers made. So they're getting them up, they're knocking them down, having good percentage, good quality. I just feel like that style of play with Wisconsin basketball, you just never count them out. It's just that
I feel like Greg Gard, man, he just finds ways to freaking win. He just finds ways to win. Like, they're 6th in Kim Palm offensive efficiency. They're 5th in defensive efficiency. Like, just on a game-to-game basis, that sucker finds a way to get Wisconsin to be in the right position just to win a game.
Well,
he's unbelievable.
And player development.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. But at the same time, player development, like, you can only go so far. Like, you got to put those guys in the right spots.
Well, and you got to put guys in the right spots. And you also have to be in a position where, because you have evolved your veteran core and your veteran core is steady, like Tyler Wall's really steady to me. Mm-hmm. Chucky Hepburn is older than even his classification. He's so poised for this role that then what happens is it's a testament to Gard that a freshman like Esigian can come into the program and flourish to the level he has. Because there's a lot of freshmen. And I would bet you that Connor Esigian, if you put him at all the Big Ten programs, right, at every Big Ten program, I'm not sure if he's flourishing to the same degree at each Big Ten program the way he is at Wisconsin.
There's something to be said there. There's certainly something to be said there. And keep in mind, he's shooting 45% from 3 as well. Like, the fact that they can just they just piece together wins. There's no other way to say that. They just piece together wins. And
that's what a good basketball team does. That's not what an ACC team does, but that's what a good basketball team does right there. Big Ten.
What's that? Big Ten
point. Team? What's that?
I said that's what good teams do, not ACC teams, but the good teams do that in the Big Ten.
2 out of the 4 in the Final Four. Is this what we're doing? I didn't see any Big Ten teams there. Did you? Okay. Here we go.
This is the year.
Here we go.
This is the year?
This is the year.
This is the year there's going to be a Final Four, a Big Ten team in the Final Four?
Yeah. Purdue, absolutely. Through and through.
So Matt Painter's going to have the breakthrough this year.
You're going to have the breakthrough.
Now, wait a minute. So that means you're going to take – I'm going to guess that you're going to take Purdue.
No, Purdue, to win it all? No, I'm not saying that.
No, I'm saying to win the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, I'm taking them to win it all.
Purdue versus the field, T.O., in the Big Ten title race.
I picked Purdue last year, and Prom really got on me, and I think Purdue ended up winning it, didn't they? They won it last year.
Purdue is -110 at Bet Rivers.
Okay.
Illinois is +600. Indiana's +700. Wisconsin's +1,000.
That might be a good bet, guys. Wisconsin might be a good bet.
There.
Yeah.
Man, thank you, Trevor.
Thank you, Trevor.
Wisconsin is appetizing. I can hear Greg Waddell's footsteps heading to the window, taking that money that he won today on Michigan and just parlaying it into the Badgers.
Is Ohio State? What is Ohio State stuff?
They're not. They got to be right there, right?
But it's beyond 1,000.
Wow.
And they're kind of. I mean, I'll tell you what. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year for them. I mean, it was. They were supposed to be a team that would take a lot of time to figure it out. They're 5th at 1,400. I'll tell you what, folks. I'll tell you what. We're not going to sit here and be blamed if you end up losing money, but we're also not going to give you. We're going to try to give you good advice. the fact that Wisconsin, because I give Wisconsin and Ohio State a better shot than I even give Indiana or Illinois right now. Like Illinois still could do it, but they got locker room issues to figure out. And I never like that because that means night to night, you don't know. Exactly.
Yep.
All right, let's transition here. We've spent 41 minutes on Big Ten basketball.
Oh, entirely too much.
Stop it.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Big Ten faithful.
Let's turn to the Big East. Providence has won 7 in a row. The Friars roll past DePaul 74-59. Devin Carter had a huge week. Today he scores 22, had a 20-plus point performance against Butler. Terrence Oglesby, are you buying the Friars?
I've already ran out of money on how much I've bought the Friars. Like, and I called it early in the season. Like, they're going to take some time to get those pieces together. And you could see in the early season, and Noah Locke's a former Florida guy, like Cooley was letting guys expand their wings a little bit more than what they had done at previous spots just to see what they could do. Now, and that was against Stonehill, where I had them at the beginning of the season. I think it was their second game of the season. I was like, guys, the pieces are there. Like, are they going to be able to put it together? And who else to put it together better than Ed Cooley? It's like, come on, guys, what are we doing here? Like, Ed Cooley's going to be able to figure this out. And sure enough, they do. Jared Bynum, electric point guard. Devin Carter, excellent defender, rim attack guy. Noah Locke, shooter. Bryce Hopkins can do a little bit of everything. And then you have 2 5-men and Croswell and Moore that you can throw different things at defenses depending on which 5-man's in there. It just took a second for them to find the pieces and how they could play together and who plays together well. And not only has Devin Carter been really good, but Bryce Hopkins has shown that he can be an absolute superstar in the Big East, an absolute superstar. And when the puzzle pieces fit and things start to click, they can compete with anybody. We have a close friend, John Fanta, who wanted to argue my point about Providence not being able to compete with everybody.
Who's that?
Steve.
Steve who?
Steve Shear.
Oh,
he was trying to argue with me. My man, hey. I'm going to trust me. I'm going to send him a message and let him know as soon as they have another marquee win. Hey, man.
I can't believe you just brought him up.
Oh yeah, we went back and forth on that one, but I think he thought they were good. He didn't know that they would be 4-0, 5-0. But I think they're really good. If the pieces fit, guys, then you can throw different waves at other teams, and you have some offensive versatility and how you can get buckets. Like, it's a problem, and Providence has that.
Well, I was a big fan of Bryce Hopkins when he was at Kentucky. I thought
he should have played more.
He definitely should have played more minutes. He was a bucket getter. He was efficient, and he had size, and he has size. Devin Carter.
You think they could use him now?
Oh, don't get me started. I'm glad to see Jacob Toppin had we're going to talk about that maybe a little bit later, but Jacob Toppin had a great game against Louisville. I just think he is not maximizing what his strengths right now to help his team win. He's not the only guy. For sure. I think you can get more efficiency out of Xavier Wheeler.
Are we sliding to Kentucky right now?
We are right now. Yeah, you pulled it up, but we are.
We can. We certainly can.
I don't love undersized point guards that can't shoot.
It certainly doesn't help. It certainly doesn't help.
But you know what? So we conclude the conversation by saying, yes, we're buying Providence. They look like an NCAA tournament team. Yeah, we're all buying Providence. Honestly, a closing thought on Providence here. Providence, in a lot of ways, has saved the Big East in the last 3-4 weeks. Because if you look at the way the Big East was trending, okay, you would say UConn NCAA tournament lock. Now Xavier NCAA tournament lock, top 20 team, maybe a top 15 team in the country. Marquette, we haven't gotten to them, but they're quality guys. They win at Villanova. Shaka Smart's 3-0 against Villanova. They're rolling. But then after those three, you're sitting there saying, okay, what's gonna happen then? What's gonna happen? Providence has been a factor, and then you think Creighton will end up figuring it out. So if the Big East goes from kind of having a rough non-conference season to getting 5 of their 11 in still and getting about half the league. You're going to
top
take
5 of that league is tough.
Tough.
And I'm including Creighton because Kalkbrenner's back. Top 5 of that league.
Back. Yep.
And you can sense that they're figuring things out. I'm going to tell you right now, next weekend, Gamble Pavilion, Creighton at UConn. Look for Kalkbrenner and Sonogo to go to war. And I just want to see Kalkbrenner and Klingen meet each other at the rim. Like I'm here for
two massive humans.
Do you think he'll show up better than Colin Castleton did?
Well, I don't know if yes.
They'll be at Gamble. Hey, are we gonna address Hurley?
Let's get to Kentucky here. I want to get to Kentucky because Patrick, you seem to have some thoughts on Kentucky, and Terrence, I know you have thoughts on Kentucky. So I want to know this. Do you believe, Patrick, that Kentucky will figure this thing out? Why or why not?
I don't think they'll figure it out enough to win the league. I think Alabama, Tennessee, not sure what to think on Arkansas yet, with Nick Smith Jr. being in and out with his knee. If he's in, I definitely will keep Arkansas in that top 3 area, but just haven't seen enough consistency from Kentucky. And Antonio Reeves, he was pretty efficient at Illinois State last year. Obviously, he was the guy taking 25 shots a game, but he shot around 45% from the field. He's been struggling with his efficiency, his shot selection. When you come from a system where you had not that Coach Cal is ever going to stifle anyone to not take shots. He lets his guys play free, but he's been struggling a lot. Feel terrible for the kid, CJ Frederick. Man, he just can't catch a break. Awesome kid. Missed all of last year. Just I don't know if he fractured a finger or what in the game against Missouri, but was barely able to play that game at all. Oscar's been great. I just struggle so much with a point guard that can't shoot. With that size, love Xavier Wheeler to death. I think he's a great leader. Cason Wallace has been awesome. He in that loss against Missouri, I think he knocked down 5 threes. Defensively, if you guys, I'm not sure if you guys watched that Missouri game, but Missouri, they're the real deal. They
they're
look
really good.
Oh, they're the real deal.
Really good.
They're the real deal. Cut off the slander. Dennis stars in America.
Yeah. I just think, the urgency and hunger that you would expect to see from a team that came off that loss against St. Peter's, the devastating, tragic loss for that team. I just haven't seen it. This Kentucky team used to be straight dogs yet. Where is that? I think if they can figure that out, forget X's and O's, let's just outwill whoever comes on this court with our energy for 40 minutes. Maybe I'll change my opinion. But right now, I'm not seeing it.
You know what's crazy is we're so hard on Kentucky. They're shooting 39% from 3. They're shooting 47 from the field. Like, they don't shoot free throws well enough. They're shooting 66 from the free throw line. They're out rebounding teams by over 8 rebounds a game.
Yeah.
And we're complaining. And they're just having a hard time winning those close games right now. And here's the offense is old, and CJ Frederick has struggled. You want him to be a good shooter, but CJ Frederick, we say he struggled. Guys, he's shooting 38.8% from 3.
He's not getting enough of them up.
Yeah,
that's
but where
exactly
is there to find more? Like,
that's
Antonio Reeves is taking 76, Cason Wallace 61, like CJ Frederick 49, Xavier Wheeler's taking 31, and he's shooting 38.7 from 3. So, like, maybe we're overanalyzing Kentucky a little bit just because it doesn't look the same way. You know what I mean? Like, you don't think so?
We're not. They're not a top 25 team in college basketball right now. They're not.
Is that offense related though? Is that offense related?
It's offense related, yeah. Because I here's the thing, okay. I think that Kentucky has tried for a long time. And under John Calipari, sometimes this has worked. Sometimes in college basketball, you can out-talent people. People. Kentucky's trying to out-talent people still. It doesn't work that way. You don't have enough to out-talent people. You know why? You got a point guard who, frankly, cannot shoot the basketball. You're going to try to out-talent people with a one who can't shoot it? You're going to try to out-talent people when, frankly, the SEC investing in basketball, about 5 years ago, they all came together and said that they came together and said in a meeting room, guys, we're not cutting it. Frankly, in basketball right now, we got some programs who flat out stink. And don't tell me we can't be successful because we got a boatload of football money. Let's pour some more assets into hoops and let's learn how to hire the right people. Guess what? Those coaching hires, they look pretty good right now. Honestly, that's also affected them because other SEC programs have invested in basketball. They've caught up. Kentucky's come back a little bit. You're not just going to be able to do it off of recruiting. You can't. And he's gotten some transfers too that he has believed fit him. To me, guys, I just get a sense with their offense in the half court. It's square peg, round hole. And until something changes, I'm not going to be able to say any differently. And I don't know how that changes. T.O., I agree with you, T.O. Kentucky's not as bad as we are critical of them.
No.
But we all thought they would be a Final Four caliber team, and right now they're the furthest thing from it.
Well, their losses, like at Mizzou versus UCLA, at Gonzaga versus Michigan State neutral floor. So it's not like that Michigan State early in the season where nobody really knows what they're doing. They're all just battling and playing hard. That's when Michigan State can thrive because they're just a bunch of tough dudes. So, like, do they really have a terrible loss on there?
No.
Not terrible, no.
So, like, that's kind of my counter to that. Like, look, it still looks kind of painful to watch. And, you know, trying to play Lance Ware and Sheeb together, like, that's a tough fit. But it's – you know, CJ Frederick, he's still at 40. Like I'm going to have to go back and really watch because their numbers say they should be a great offensive team.
They should be.
Like, that's the crazy part about it. They should be a great offensive team, but like what's holding them back? I'm going to have to really dive in for some more context because just looking at the numbers alone doesn't do the trick. But hey, another thing too is I did talk to Calipari over the summer. And he said, you know, sometimes whenever those games get close in the NCAA tournament, talent is what takes over. And sometimes, you know, last year he didn't necessarily have like that level of talent that he's had with John Wall, that level of talent he's had with, you know, the Harrison twins and, you know, Anthony Davis and Karl Anthony Towns. Like, they have a bunch of really, really good college players. They don't have a bunch of like top 10 picks on this team. Go ahead, John. I know you're just ready. Just go.
Well, Patrick, I'm sorry, but I can't accept the head coach in Kentucky complaining to me about how he doesn't feel like he's got enough talent.
That wasn't really what.
Well,
that could be taken out of context in a poor way, but it was.
It's hard for me
to explain exactly what he meant.
Well, no. I mean, I don't know. I just think, like, to me, top 10 NBA draft pick doesn't always win in the NCAA tournament.
If they even make it, they don't always make it.
Exactly. Yeah. If they even make it, which does that not sum up for some of these guys?
I'll start here. Something so simple. Hey, Kentucky is like 12th or 13th in the league in free throw percentage.
That hurts.
Let's start right there.
Really hurts.
Let's get to a 70. You know, that can completely, and that takes we can stop the talent conversation right there when we're talking about making free throws.
Yeah,
and I'm willing to talk.
You couldn't shoot free throws, Pat.
We're at 10. We're at 10:55. I got to get your thoughts on this. UConn suffers their first loss of the season yesterday. They fall to Xavier. The Musketeers, scalding hot, winners of 8 in a row. But Connecticut falls late in the game, in the closing stretch. Dan Hurley gets teed up. It's a costly technical foul in what was a one-possession game before he gets whistled for it. This is a result of a lot of things that we've seen here in not just this season, but recent years. Hurley got ejected last year when UConn hosts Villanova, and he's been teed up already a couple of times. this season. A lot of post-game banter about this. Fans saying if an official has a bias against a coach, they shouldn't be officiating the game in the first place. There's the class of people that are bringing up the fact that, look, whether you like it or not, Dan Hurley wrote on his wrist, coach your team. Coach your team. He wrote that on his wrist in Portland. Does that not sum up a lot?
It wasn't
the head
in
coach
Sharpie.
himself is. Yeah, exactly. Guys, what do you make of this situation? Is it Hurley having to look himself in the mirror? Is it the officials, Patric Young? What do you make of a technical foul late against Xavier, and now Hurley getting teed up several times this season?
Well, I have to rely on the expert opinion of you guys that know a little bit more history than I do. But just from my own personal understanding, Dan Hurley has just a history that has put him in a place where you're just known for this, known for giving the refs and just going too far, and having this opportunity with this team, and hats off to him for toning things down, maintaining that level of intensity, but striving to, coaches, they all play the referees. They all, at some level, strive to do what they can to make sure their voice is being heard. But you go back and you look at this game and the disparity on free throws. I can understand the frustration. 9 free throws for UConn, 28 for Xavier. But hats off to Xavier, really good team. They are absolutely a tournament team, and in my opinion, they're possibly a Sweet 16 team with the way that they get the ball up and knock shots down and defend as well. But yeah, I mean, I've never been in the position of being a head coach and having to deal with referees on that side. As a player, I would try to do my best to stay away from. But you can't be the reason to cost your team a game. You
can't put yourself in that position.
You cannot.
You absolutely can't. It was a 1-possession game at the time. There were 2 minutes and change left, something like that, Fanta. Like, you can't do that at the end of the game. Now, what he said or didn't say, I really like Hurley. I like him as a human. I understand he's got a screw loose when it comes to coaching, and that's what makes him enjoyable.
He didn't say, thank you guys. You're doing such a great job today.
Huh?
He didn't say, thank you all so much. You're doing such a great job today. I'm thrilled to be here.
I can promise you.
He wasn't being a Chick-fil-A employee.
No, he wasn't being a Chick-fil-A employee. Dadgummit.
Yeah, there's no shot at that. But I will say this. There's a couple things. One, Hurley can't do that.
No.
2, I don't love that the official decided at that point of the game to call the technical. Like, I am sure that Danny said something prior to 2.5 minutes left to go in a game that warranted a technical foul. Yes. And coming into the season, bench decorum was one of the points of emphasis for officials. A lot of that had to do with Danny. So, like, you have to make sure that, 1, Danny can't put himself in that position at the end of the game. 2, I don't love that the ref took it upon himself. That did alter the course of the game. That ref should have called a technical earlier in the game, and then you could have found a way to, that would have still given him a chance. But it altered the course of the game at that point. There wasn't enough time to really make up and regain your momentum.
All right. So there's a couple of angles that I take on this whole topic. Number 1, there's a lot of people on Twitter and stuff who are complaining about the Big East officials. The Big East officials end up officiating in the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4, National Championship game. The Big East has an alliance with the ACC. Terrence, you don't need me to tell you about ACC officiating.
Mm-hmm.
There's an integrity factor there. Folks, if you think there's a conference that wants to invest in their basketball officials, it's a conference that solely has basketball as its main sport. They cannot screw it up. Okay, so that's number 1 on the point of, is there an officiating problem? Number 2, I'm sorry, folks, but to those people who are really upset when their team doesn't get a call and they're the road team, did you just wake up and start watching sports? Did you just wake up and start watching sports? have you not lived to see the NFL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball,
Out of the game.
and everything else under the sun, to understand the fact that there are things that get called that the home team benefits off of and that the road team does not? There are calls that are made in a game that you would say, if it was the other way around, that call probably isn't getting made. Okay? Number two. Number three, are any of us arguing that UConn wins the game yesterday if the game gets officiated differently? I don't think so. I thought Xavier outplayed Connecticut and did enough to win the game. At the end of the day, it was a difficult call for the official to make. I would have to say the official did not take a lot of pleasure in having to do that, because I guarantee you he's getting multiple phone calls the moment he steps off the court from people saying, this better have been justified. Was it justified? All that. These officials, you don't see it, folks, but they are constantly under the radar gun.
Yep.
They are. They're under the spotlight. Technical fouls are given not for one-offs. Technical fouls are given because if you tell Timmy to stop, that's strike one. If you tell Timmy to stop again, that's strike two. And if you tell Timmy to stop, sometimes refs give out 3, 4, 5, 6 strikes in a game. At a certain point, an official says, you know what? Forget it. I've told you. That's not just Dan Hurley.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of coaches.
Absolutely.
The point is, he can't get a technical foul in that spot for his guys. He absolutely knows that. Dan Hurley has done one of the best coaching jobs in America this season.
Yep.
He could be argued as National Coach of the Year. You can't get teed up in that spot. The refs know it's a difficult call to make. Let it be served as the lesson that it is. You try to learn from it, and it's water under a bridge. But let's not try to make a bigger issue of it than what it was. Xavier was the better team yesterday. They won the game. And for UConn, sometimes there's a good thing about losing. And you know what?
They were going to lose a game. Like their next few games are really, really tough. And guys, I would have never said this as a player. I would have never said this when I was a coach. Like the referees in the Big East, you could literally call a foul every time down. Like it's that type of. It is so hard to officiate, and the refs are good. They're good. They're as good as you're going to get, and they're as good as there is. I mean, for guys to be able to do all that stuff, it is what it is. He shouldn't have put himself in that situation. I would have liked, though, John, that 2.5 minutes ago, he could have done something 5, 6, 7 minutes earlier. That's my only critique of the official. Like, we know Hurley went nuts. We know you also could have given him a technical at 10 minutes as opposed to 2 minutes left. That's my only critique. I didn't love that. And the free throw discrepancy, of course, like that's home and away. That stuff's going to happen when you have big dudes banging bodies. Like that's just going to happen.
All right, time for 3 toasts. Who you cheersing tonight, Patric Young?
Well, I saw it fit, obviously, since I'm a big man anyway, to give Hunter Dickinson the toast of the night. He broke Juwan Howard's Michigan record of double-doubles at Michigan. So he had 32, 12, and 2 with 18 in the first half. Good to see him have a little coming out party. Hope this gives him some more momentum for Michigan to win a lot more games after how sensational of a run they had last year late.
I'm going to Providence because we talked about him. Devin Carter, man. Like, how
Devin
good
Carter.
is he? It's going to be somebody different every week for that Providence. Bynum 1 week. Noah Locke's going to get hot later this season. He's going to combine in 2 games for like 13 threes. Like, it's going to happen. Bryce Hopkins was a few weeks ago against Marquette where he went berserk for 29-23. But cheers to Devin Carter. Big week for him. Providence undefeated in league, 4-0. That's been big time. I'm not drinking decaf to that either. I'm drinking my water.
There you go.
I'm going to give a toast to Ron Hunter and Tulane.
Yeah, that's a good win for them.
That's a good
beat
win.
Memphis today, 96-89. The sophomore guard from Sugar Hill, Georgia, Zion James, had 30 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds. Mr. James, your New Year's Day dinner is served. That is a big-time performance because, guys, when you walk on the court against Memphis this year, a quality Memphis team, you got to go through Kendrick Davis. Zion James said, you know what? I'm protecting home court. You go for a 30 ball and 7 assists, Mr. James. I'm saluting you. You get cheers for me. And I got to tell you guys, Tulane, by hiring Ron Hunter, that was a quality hire for them because I like the direction that they're going in. And I think today was indicative of that. To score 96 points on Memphis's defense.
Yeah.
That's revealing. So let's give the Green Wave some love. They started 2023 right, and they got a 30 ball from a sophomore in Zion James.
Hey, you want to go, if you're a high school recruit and you want to go to a coach that'll let you rock out, Ron Hunter's that dude. Like, he is going to let his stars be stars. Like, if you can get 30, he's going to let you get 30. There's no handcuffing with Ron Hunter.
Well, on that note, for decaf coffee and the Wisconsin Badgers fan, the big fan of them all, and Patric Young, for Terrence Oglesby, I'm John Fanta. For producer Trevor Valise, thank you to Micah Shrewsberry for stopping by the show tonight. Penn State, they're one of the top stories on this January the 1st because the Nittany Lions are 11-3 and 2-1 the Big Ten and look like a real factor. We're back with you tomorrow night, 11 Eastern time. We've got a loaded week coming up in college basketball. Conference play is in full swing. A brand new DTF pod tomorrow with Terrence and with Rob, with myself. We got you covered at the Field of 68. Field68.shop. And at the Field of 68, you follow us. We've got you covered. Check out the Daily tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern time, for Mike Miller and his boys. So long, everybody.